Christian there, of course, showing us those live pictures from the crime scene in Nara city, where investigators have now arrived at the scene and they're trying to reconstruct the crime as it took place. They're taking measurements. Of course, the shooter was not standing very far away from former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. He was only, in fact, in a video that we accessed earlier and showed to our viewers as well, he seemed to be standing just meters away from former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, from where he, in fact, shot at him twice in the chest from behind, is what we're told. And, of course, the Prime Minister is currently in a hospital, and he is being treated, the former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. So there are of course investigating teams that are on the ground right now trying to reconstruct the scene of crime, also collecting forensic evidence as well for the case. The shooter has been currently, as we speak, charged with attempted murder. Christian, go on, describe more about what you're seeing around you.
Well, at the moment there's a strange, I don't know, there's somebody set up some instrument there, and there are three people trying to measure something again, like, which is, it's hard to tell what they're trying to do unless you're a technician on these particular things. So, but they're definitely going on an investigation here. That's for sure. They are, I think, probably trying to hurry up also before it gets dark. There's still a few hours left, so before it gets dark, I think they just want to try to gather all the information possible at this point. And they made clear the whole area, so they're taking this thing for themselves for quite some time. So they're gonna take their time at the moment. So I assume, yeah, it's part of the investigation already for sure. Yeah.
Right. Christian, when this incident did take place at 11:30 a.m. local time in Japan, how many people were on the ground at that time, in terms of those who were there, who were possibly listening in to Shinzo Abe as he made his campaign speech, possibly onlookers, those exiting the train station as well? How many people were there on the ground, approximately?
Well, and from the pictures that I've seen, not so many, or definitely fewer than tens of people, just fewer than that. So it's really not a big gathering, and so these things are, again, like, I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't something like improvised by Abe himself, and then it showed up here maybe a few hours before, or who knows, because otherwise he would have had a much bigger crowd, I'm sure. So it was maybe something impromptu, something that they didn't really plan so much ahead, and the fact that the crowd wasn't so big, it's there to prove it. So, but it's, one thing is for sure, again, like the view here, it's very open and wide. You know, there's a crossroad here, and there's really no obstacle on the way. It's really hard to maintain even a security, if you want to maintain a security on this point. So for the assassin was really easy to aim at Abe's heart. It was really easy, and again, given the fact that now that we know for sure it was premeditated, if he premeditated in this area, he had his reasons, and his reasons, probably main reasons, the fact that this is a very anonymous station. It's not something that gathers a lot of attention, and it doesn't gather much attention even now, that after what happened. I mean, there's a few people on the station, not many people. If you mean, this is really just not that many people. You imagine, like, in another nation, something like this happened, you would have thousands of people coming here to see what happened. See, this is another thing about Japan, and people are not so extroverted to come and see something like this that would consider an event of mourning rather than a spectacle. So I guess that makes it also easier now for the investigating team to go on with what they're doing.
Right. India Today, of course, the only Indian channel which is at the spot where this crime took place earlier this morning in Japan at 11:30 a.m. Christian is in fact reporting from the site. He is right there. He's showing you pictures, in fact, of the site where investigators have now arrived in order to collect evidence to, of course, build their case against the accused in this case, who has been, in fact, identified as 41-year-old Tetsuya Yamagami, who is said to be a local, a resident of Nara city, who, in fact, has allegedly admitted to the police during his questioning, which is currently underway, that he, in fact, intended to kill Shinzo Abe. Also, Christian, can you tell us about the gun laws in Japan? Because gun violence, so to say, is extremely rare in Japan, and even acquiring a gun, getting hold of a gun, is an extremely tedious and a very difficult process. You have to pass through what we read, through very stringent exams and mental health tests before you can, in fact, acquire a licensed gun.
Yes, yes, that's true. That's true. Well, first of all, there's not many people who want to own a gun on the first place here, and not many who would want to have a gun for self-defense. So the fact that this lone killer decided to make himself a weapon, it's probably because he didn't want to go through all the tests that require to actually own legally a gun here in Japan. So he had to resort probably through internet instructions, that's what I'm supposing, to make his own weapon. He, having been trained in the army, maybe didn't even do any good to him, since he was only there for 3 years, and that's 15 years ago. So he was already away from that training, from that mentality even of being trained for 3 years in the self-defense forces. So he, who knows what he was doing for the last 15 years. But again, like, as we know, like from his profile before, we know that other assassins in different ways with no political motivation had a similar profile, being pretty much the same age, and often being unemployed. That's the key thing, is the fact that he was unemployed. That's one of the things that returns many times with this type of actions. Unemployment, which brings to a lot of resentment against society. Who knows? And he took it to Shinzo Abe for his own personal reasons that he made up, concocted out of his many years of being, again, without something concrete to do in his life. Again, these are from past experience of past assassins that had no political motivation, but whatever. This is something that we already seen in the profile of this type of killers. Again, this had one more thing to add to the mix, which is the political motivation. Why was this political motivation fired on the first? We don't know. Could it be that the fact he resented something about his life, but the fact that he wasn't happy with his life? Again, these are not something that it's so uncommon in Japan. People in their 40s unemployed and scouring the net for conspiracy theories. These are not something completely unknown. If you go on Twitter, you can surf on Twitter for hours, for days, and still come up with guys with crazy theories about anything.